Let me start out this review by saying that I'm absolutely tired of comic book movies. I can't handle how many come out a year, because it seems like the number steadily increases without actually increasing in quality. Okay, wait, that's a lie. I'll admit that it seems like the big movie companies seem to be investing more into these movies, but honestly, I'd rather just have a movie with a good story than a product that's intended entirely to make sequels. Oh, wait. Logan is a brilliant movie. It doesn't seem to be a product at all, because there doesn't seem too much that the producers could market off the movie. What, are you gonna sell minifigures of Laura? Okay, fine. The rest of the prominent characters? Also fine, I'll take it. But that's really it. The movie doesn't market itself as a kid movie at all, which some could take the lightheartedness as in Days of Future Past. This isn't a happy-go-lucky movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. This is a gritty, serious finale to a franchise. I emphasize two facts there: finale and gritty. The movie's gritty. It's grittier than Southern food, and it does grit right. The story is dark with a consistent tone. There may be one funny moment, but it doesn't mess with the tone at all.
Not okay!
Let me enlighten you with a movie that clearly intends on coming off as a gritty movie. Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice is a terrible movie. It's so bad a movie that Ralph the Movie Maker had to make 2 separate videos just to tackle how bafflingly bad it is. I hate this movie for its tone. The way that tone in the movie is executed makes it seem like they wanted just to corner the edgy and a middle school market. It's sad because I can imagine middle school me enjoying that movie. Batman vs Superman knows what it wants to be, which in this case isn't a good thing. It intends on being a dark film. That shouldn't be your goal in making a film. Back to Logan. Logan is an excellent movie because it has a consistent tone that it establishes early and keeps throughout the movie. Its tone is also good in this case because the movie is inherently dark. It doesn't intend on being a dark, gritty film. It's just how it comes off, because the subject matter and themes of the movie are just dark. I mean, it's also an R-rated movie, so they can pull out all the stops. I'll get a little more on that in a minute. Batman vs Superman comes off like it intended on being dark. The way that Lex Luthor talks is pretentious and mirrors what I would have said in middle school. Geez, middle school is a bad time for me, I'm finding out. Why is Lex Luthor spouting all this pretentious nonsense about God? Why did they cast Jesse Eisenberg? It just seems like they're trying to relive the days of The Dark Knight. They should have done something new with that film. And now back to Logan. The movie does something new that doesn't detract from all the other films or make some dumb statement. It kills off characters and gives Hugh Jackman a beard. I mean, come on. A beard? A full beard? Tone! In all honesty, I can't find a relevant example to show how Logan is different than all the other X-Men movies, except for the fact that it's not afraid to go dark places. It's kind of funny that it's like Deadpool in the regard that it doesn't hold back on gore, and it almost feels as if Deadpool is going to replace Wolverine as an icon.
Wow, nice suit! Zip it, Stanley!
That's R-rated movies for you. Logan establishes tone within the first minute of the movie. The Wolverine's in this car, and wakes up to see these gangster dudes trying to steal his car stuff. So they shoot him, and within the first scene of the movie we can tell how the movie just isn't going to hold back. The Wolverine is going to go out with a bang. I'll admit that the first scene of Batman vs Superman is actually pretty well done. There's some good symbolism even if they don't ever call back effectively to develop it, and the fact that I can remember it after a year stands as a testament to its competency. The thing is, Logan is consistent with this tone of grim violence, which I've heard some people criticize the movie for. People say that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is just get mad, kill, feel bad, repeat, and I won't argue that. But this movie really takes its time to develop characters and show the effects of the kind of lifestyle that Logan really lives. By the way, spoilers. I didn't say it earlier because it's just the opening scene. Anyway, the tone doesn't change throughout the movie. It's gritty and that's good. But just because it doesn't necessarily change doesn't mean that it isn't developed. Take the dinner scene. There's an air of awkwardness as Laura tries to eat the food without a spoon. Wolverine corrects her because, well, that's uncouth. They're mutants. They're weird. This is new to Laura. But then, they start talking, and they start laughing, and the audience feels good, and the characters feel good. All is well. Later, Charles Xavier reflects on how it's the best night he's had in a long time. Besides the fact that this is awesome foreshadowing that I definitely didn't pick up on the first time, it's amazing at developing the characters. It humanizes superhumans. We can relate. Charles Xavier and Logan both reflect on how they wish they could have a life like the farmers. Peaceful, calm, loving. They want families.
People who love each other. A home. You should take a moment. Feel it. You still have time.
Then all hell breaks loose. The family is killed. Charles Xavier is murdered. His favorite night in a while was his last. Tone, symbolism, themes, characters, every single one of these aspects has been developed excellently. I won't go into detail analyzing all of them because I don't want this video to get too long. I'm also really lazy. LOLs! That's why this movie is smart, without raising some sort of political message or doing some obvious statement about religion or God or theological garbage. That's why Batman vs. Superman is a bad movie, because it's not subtle in anything it does. Also, why is Lex Luthor like the Joker? Like, could they please take a different archetype for the insane villain?
That is a 3-syllable word for any thought too big for little minds.
Before I go into things that make this movie less than 100%, let me talk a little bit about Cinematography 101. When I started taking film classes, the teacher always said that the camera should be an instrument with which to tell the story. Angle is shot low, so that a character looks big if you want to establish power. Do the opposite if the dynamic of the character is inferior to the other. The movie is subtle when it does this, and reveals certain aspects about characters in a way that I find very enjoyable. When looking back at the first scene, there's a real conflict between the antagonist and the protagonist. We can see this dynamic employed amazingly. The camera's at a low angle when showing the villain. Then, it cuts to Laura, who also has a... Wait, she has a low angle too? What? Where did all this stuff about the power dynamic go? One of them has to be inferior, no? But then she kicks his ass. Bam! The camera establishes that Laura is a force to be reckoned with before she even does anything. That's excellent cinematography, because it's subtle. Less is more in almost every case. If it takes me to get into pretentious film critic mode to notice the strength, then it's been done right. Good on you, 21st Century Fox, you made a good thing. I'm not going to say that the movie is flawless though. There are very, very few flawless movies. Besides, all this is subjective anyway. I will, before I get into my small gripes of the movie, talk about a few more strengths. I think the reason why people like Deadpool so much is because yes, it is lewd and yes, it is funny, but the fact that it has a self-aware character.
Zip it, Stanley!
Deadpool isn't subtle either. It's very obvious. The character points out flaws in villains' logic, common movie tropes, the whole deal. But Deadpool is smart about how it does his flaw picking, making it obvious the movie is a huge satire on the superhero genre. That's how just because a movie is crude doesn't mean it can't be good or smart. Logan is smart in a similar way. The way Wolverine points out the fact that X-Men comic books are dumb is absolutely stunning. Also meta as hell, but that's besides the point. A character saying an aspect of the movie is dumb automatically gives a free pass to the writers. They could do figuratively anything as long as Hugh Jackman is like, this is the most stupid thing that I've ever seen, and the audience and critics would eat it up. It's honestly more powerful than Meta Knight in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I'll explain a little bit more. In the movie, there are X-Men comics.
Maybe a quarter of it happened, and not like this.
Wolverine says that they didn't happen that way, which I could get into, but I won't, and that they're extremely exaggerated. It explains the awful yellow Wolverine costume and campy outfits the rest of the cast wears. We find out that the main goal of the story is to go into some made-up location found in North Dakota. The person who set up all the events in the movie wrote down some coordinates found in a safe asylum. Are they really still going to do this? The movie's ridiculous now. This is a huge hole in logic and I can't stand it. Wolverine, of course, immediately regrets picking up the girl and risking his life. He feels like he wasted valuable energy. Okay, fine, I'll deal with it. But then we find the asylum place is real. What? That's ridiculous again. But upon further inspection, we realize that the asylum was set up by the woman who started the whole plot, since it's close to the Canadian border. The mutants are saved. Oh, good stuff. I like it. Here's where some more holes are going to be poked in the movie. The movie doesn't ever establish how the other children get to North Dakota, which is fine. It isn't relevant to the plot. But why don't they have Mexican accents? Why is Laura the only one with the Mexican accent? Quick thing, her accent is flawless. When I found out her native accent is British, I was in shock. Growing up with a Mexican family, I thought it was bona fide. Ay chingaron que no sabe nada! All the other children are said to have been born and raised in Mexican labs, so shouldn't they speak Spanish as a first language too? It's especially funny when the other kids actually interact with Laura, and she's talking all in a Mexican accent while the leader of the group is American. Like, that's what it's all about, am I right, Lamau? Also, how are Wolverine and Laura even able to get to the asylum? It's established that the main villain knows where they're going several days in advance. However, even though he has access to helicopters and better cars than a trashy Jeep, he still comes up after several days, the protagonists do. But whatever, I'll excuse it. Because overall, the movie is good. Well, it's better than good, it's damn flashy. The tone is great, the themes and characters are well developed, the cinematography is amazing. Because I'm an ass, and because I think that the movie serves a good purpose. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I enjoyed the film because that's what it was, a film. There were no socio-political messages, albeit there were overtones, or commentary on life as a person, or a moral. And being this dark film about grit and pain, it served as something that taught me that stories can be, well, stories. It was subjective, and I can interpret it as any way I want. And I interpret it as, there's nothing there. I used to believe that if you're going to write a book, there needs to be a message to the reader. The reader needs to learn something that they can apply to their own life. The reader needs to have their entire life changed when this simply isn't the case. I sent this script to my wise friend, who indirectly enlightened me to the true meaning of art. Feelings. This movie makes me feel something, whether it be fear, or suspense, or disgust, or sentimental sadness. We make art because it helps our lives, not because we can analyze it and pretend like the colors need to have some sort of meaning. And sure, I may sound a little contradictory when saying this, but I honestly think the movie and its gore and its nudity and its action was more entertaining than some Avengers movie could ever be. Again, I'm an ass. I like scales out of 7, so if I were to rate this film, I would say it would be a 6 out of 7. It's a great movie, and if they fix those small little plot things, I would easily give it a 7. But you don't get a 7 if you made even the tiniest of mistakes. Trust me when I say that it's hard to make just the perfect film. We just reviewed some stuff. Godspeed.